welcome to a Friday edition of Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. We're here with Jim Nardone, resident law enforcement expert. How you doing, Jim?
I'm good. I hate when you call me an expert, though, because I'm not an expert in anything at all.
No, they treat you like a god in Trenton.
No.
You go down to Trenton, you go to a restaurant, you with Jim. Free on the islands and breakfast, and you don't have to pay for the coffee and shit.
Don't believe all that.
Like all the perks. Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss.
Hey, everybody. That shout out to everybody that's watching Detroit. Adolph Mongo's Detroit in Black and White. Listen, if you're watching Detroit in Black and White, this is what we want you to do is hit that like button and subscribe to Adolph Mongo's Detroit in Black and White.
Stop saying my name.
Shout out Adolph Mongo. Adolph Mongo. And I'm Vanessa Moss. Popping my
Allan Lengel, co-founder.
And Allan Lengel.
All right. Hey,
Allan Lengel.
Hey, Teresa,
I'll get it too.
We're getting a little echo, and I think it might be because I have two. Can you knock me out? One of those?
Huh?
What's happening?
Studio quiet. Here, look, I'm gonna. Okay.
You still hear the echo?
Are you here? Okay. Yeah.
A little echo at your point, Alan, but it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, here I'm gonna leave.
It's not me.
No, it's me. It's me.
That's hilarious.
It's not me.
He said,
well, anyway,
no idea.
Well, while Alan is doing his thing, where is Eric? Eric is teaching people how to read out of a log cabin. He got night class. That's where Eric is at. It's a must read. Read his Facebook post. And you know what, Eric is he's off today. Some people say he's off every show.
Come on now. Thanks, Queen Bee, for
Eric's my guy. Eric's my guy. Ain't no question. Jim, you wanted to go in first. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that this morning, face-to-face, Adolph Mongo, kind of a new concept, a one-on-one conversation with James Craig, the former police chief and current mayoral candidate. And I think, and I'm just going to briefly talk about it, but it's going to be on our webpage. It is on our webpage. It ran at 8 tonight. It's going to run after this show. Take a look at it. It's a great interview. He makes a compelling.
We couldn't get him for the regular show, so we got him.
He makes a compelling argument. The first question he said is, "What about my neighborhood?" And he talked about homeowners versus renters and why we have too many renters in Detroit. He talked about small business owners and how some of them are kind of shut out from Detroit. He talked about public schools. And finally, what was most compelling to me was he talked about leadership. And I'm going to go back just 1 second to a July night in 2020, when, as a former police chief, and not on the same level as James Craig, I'm a small town police chief, small town cop that just ended up being a police chief. Well, James Craig was a chief in 3 or 4 different spots. I think he might have been a state patrol chief also, maybe Washington State Patrol or something. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, on this July night, Detroit Will Breathe marched up Woodward Avenue and towards the 12th precinct. And as a former cop, I'm sitting there going, this is going to end really badly. I don't know where James Craig is, and I don't know where his leadership team are. And later we learned that, one of the people, Todd Bettison, the current police chief, was involved. But here's what happened. They had a bend, don't break with Detroit Don't Breathe. And we were lucky. The city was lucky. I know there was a few complaints and a few suits, and that always happens. But his strategy worked. And I got to give the gentleman credit for his strategy as a police chief. He did a tremendous job.
So I'll throw this question out there. Do Craig have a chance to make it to the next round? Or is he
I say yes.
Go ahead.
I think, I think Sheffield and Sontil Jenkins be going for a lot of the same voters. I think he's got a possibility. He's sort of an outlier there, and yet he's a brand name in the city. I think I wouldn't rule him out.
Vanessa.
Listen, they call him Hollywood Craig. Listen, people, where there are some people who didn't particularly care for him, I shall remain nameless. But listen, there are a lot of people who supported him and will continue to support him. I always talk about how in the Black community that we're very conservative, especially on Sunday morning. And I know, Allan, you've asked me, what do I mean? What I mean is this: I have a lot of friends. I grew up in the church. I'm still in the church. A lot of people were really excited when he was going to run for governor. Those same people are going to support him in running for mayor. So I think he is going to be a player. I think that there's some people that are in the race, they're going to get knocked out, especially people. Listen, we know name recognition goes a long way. Who does not know who Chief Craig is?
Well, you know what? Listen. I don't have my run-ins with the chief, and I disagreements, but I don't overlook anybody, especially somebody with a name that's been the police chief, etc. You don't go to sleep on these folks. Because I looked at Keith Butler, who was Word of Faith, a staunch Republican. He was more right than Donald Trump. He all the way to the right. Brad put his name on the ballot. People say, "Oh, he's not going to get elected to the city council because he's a Republican and he's this." Shit, he finished like the top 4.
Yeah,
people, because one, he was a minister. And we have voters in Detroit had a habit of putting ministers on school boards, on the city council, etc. And 2, I was surprised that given his Republican background, that people voted for him, and they sure did. But he couldn't stand the heat. He stayed one term, and he said, "This is not for me." Allan.
I was going to say, I don't admire him for sucking up to Trump when he was running for governor. On the other hand, I give him credit. He was one of the candidates who did not go along with Trump's claim about a stolen election, and that hurt him. And that may have, he ended up obviously getting screwed on the signature stuff, but Trump wasn't going to endorse anyone who wouldn't say the election wasn't stolen. And so Craig did not want to say that, and I give him credit for that.
Yeah, well, we're going to have Mary Sheffield on tomorrow, and then I would like her take on what they think about Chief Craig. I'll talk to some of the other campaigns, and you mentioned Craig, you mentioned Reverend Solomon, Kinlock, etc. Some people take them seriously, and some don't. I say you can't sleep on some of these folks, especially in a race like this. You never know who's going to end up. People saying, "Oh, Mary Sheffield is the favorite," or Sontil is the favorite, or whatever. You never know. You might have somebody that we're not even looking at. You look at Jimmy Carter, came out of nowhere and got elected governor, then president. This shit is.
But we also, as we pointed out, there's only 4 months till the primary, and it's
been quiet.
It's been very quiet, and nobody,
except for the 2 women. The 2 women have sparred, but it has been very quiet. So
that's not a big fight. When I say it's been quiet, I'm looking at where the fireworks at.
Yeah,
where I can cut the TV on and I see this ad or that ad or flyers or whatever. I'm used to throwing bombs and shit. here's the dirt here, and I'm pointing the finger. Well, we haven't seen any of that.
We haven't. But,
Miss Vanessa?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Can we? I know it's early, but can we talk to a few of our viewers that we have some interest in?
Okay, so Queen B say they are shit peddling professional bullshitters. Excuse my language. She said no James Craig is just a liar. Bridget Huff said good evening. Par Orga says, Jim, James Craig sounded like a con man selling snake oil off the back of a wagon.
I like when you're done, I want to comment on some of that.
I like that one.
Okay. For the show, Mr. Mongo. And who else do we have? Let me go back up. I can't move up. But that's basically it so far.
Howard is doing what some of us are doing. I'm sure Allan is, and I'm sure Adolph is too. He won't tell you, but he's trying to watch part of the Michigan State.
He said
Michigan State. Nobody care about Michigan State.
But
I hate Michigan State.
Why do you hate Michigan State?
He'll quote Adolph Mongo, fuck Michigan.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the 4th grade, we went up to Lansing to see the governor's office. They all gave us diplomas from Michigan State. So, I got a degree from Michigan State.
I just want to briefly.
Anyway.
Oh, wait a minute. Early story. He says, I don't know what he says, but Halito Chama Wingapo. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
It says, Vanessa, you're beautiful tonight. I think that's what it meant.
Thank you. Felicia D said hello. And Howard, of course, said laugh out loud, and so did Queen B.
Well, but you know what? And I tell you, when Chief Craig said he wasn't a politician, just a police chief. Listen, I've been in Portland, Maine, where he was the police chief. To get that job, he had the politics. And I'm still trying to figure out, damn, he came from Cincinnati, LA, and he went to this, he went to Maine. It's like it's another fucking world.
Listen, it's an example of a politician is this. You and he have sparred, you don't call him names. He's like bump Adolph. As soon as you say, hey, you want to come on the show like a true politician, like the true Hollywood person that he is, he said, yes, I'm going to come on the show. I can't come on, but look, let's make it happen. So he is a politician.
Let's back up.
There's no question that he's a politician.
You know you're a politician.
Well, you know what he wanted? He
talking about me?
Yes, I said you were the chief of the police. You know you're a politician.
Well, I'm not on the level of James Craig. James Craig is a master politician. I think people underestimate his politics, but I'm just going to say this. I focus on, I can't tell you whether he would be a good governor. That was kind of a cluster, the whole governorship deal with Belle Isle and Queen Bee referred to hiring. You need to start an organization, and it's got to be grassroots. It can't be paid. You can't pay people to do your campaign. If they don't have any interest or they don't have any passion for your campaign, you're not going to go anywhere, in my opinion. But I'm referring to his time as a police chief, and I think that some of the things he did, you can question. I know Detroit will probably not agree with me, but I was surprised by his patience and the way
you know what I call one of his cops a fat, out of shape, unsat. MF.
He sure did.
And the chief, the next month, they announced that they had some kind of exercise program for the Detroit Police Department. Like they should have had it a long time ago, because you see some of these cops that, man, how can they fit in a uniform?
But let's talk about how he came to be the chief of police. Let's not forget the fact that, listen, we had an emergency manager. Yeah. We also had Governor Snyder in office. This guy, the deal was cut for him to become the police chief. People act like they were shocked years later that he was a Republican. I'm like, You guys didn't study what was going on. The deal was cut. I mean, this was all politics. So for people to act surprised and say that he is a master politician. Has he made mistakes? Absolutely. He made mistakes with those doggone signatures. But guess what? The city mayor of the city of Detroit made some mistakes. And guess what? He became the mayor of the city of Detroit for what, 12 years? So, listen, we can't go to sleep on these people. We can't.
Go ahead, Allan.
I was going to say, and I agree with Queen Bee. I mean, look, the department, we didn't have nearly what some other cities like Chicago, New York, Seattle during the Black Lives Matter and all that. But there was a lot in the beginning, at least. There were a lot of missteps. They were shooting people with. If suddenly curfew came, they clamped down like at 8 o'clock, 8:30, said curfew. They were shooting people with rubber bullets. They were beating.
That's Minnesota. That was your governor in Minnesota.
No, we're talking about here in Detroit. Then that was happening.
I'm sorry, I'm joking.
There were lawsuits filed against the department. So the department was not perfect, but they had a better outcome than other cities. I'll give them credit for that. But there was, when we're talking about people out in the street, protesting police brutality and all that kind of stuff, and they were doing stuff they shouldn't have, and they finally they relaxed the curfew.
You forgot there was a police shooting during that time too, where they 19-year-old pulled a gun out.
Oh, right.
And the police shot him, and it was on camera. So right. Yeah, they had their little ups and downs. My main concern with the marches, the Black Lives Matter, is what the fuck did they do? But march up and down Michigan Avenue and Woodward or whatever. They didn't do shit. They didn't ask for shit. They didn't do shit. They had they put a Black Lives Matter lettering down on Woodward. Nothing. This is the time to hold some of these corporations accountable. They don't come to Detroit. They build supermarkets right on the border. They make sure they don't come in the city limits. Schools all fucked up. The developers come here, get 50 million, 60 million, and give us a basketball fucking court. We need to be demanding other things besides lip service.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
So I take it, Adolph, you didn't march, or you and Allan didn't march in Black Lives Matter. Neither did I. But I will say,
I covered it.
I will say, you did, Allan?
I did. I covered with photos and reported on some stuff.
All they was doing was arguing with the old heads and the young heads arguing. I was a activist in the 60s. You didn't do shit. And you know what? Bottom line is, this is the time to give a list of demands to some of these retail folks that they want our money. We keep some of these people in business, and they refuse to even have anything in the neighborhoods or in Detroit. The same way with the people we give hundreds of millions of dollars to. They don't rebuild no neighborhoods. They sit on property and shit, and they get all the spoils. We get nothing. That's why people complain and say, "Oh, downtown look good," and it does. I'm not gonna take it away. But what about where I live at? On the far west side on Myers and Wyoming and Linden and Puritan and Finkel, all over that way.
Absolutely.
What is the deal? When you gonna come?
Van Dyke and Maxwell.
Coming now?
Nodale, Gratiot, all of those areas that I go into. Absolutely. So when you hear people saying, "Oh," like the other day, they're talking about the mayor of the city of Detroit and how Detroit is doing so well. Listen, if you drive in certain areas, yeah, but them same areas that have been overlooked continue to be overlooked. Okay?
Okay, we talked, one of our viewers mentioned a guy, Porter Brooks, but I'm going to mention Hakeem Littleton, who died on San Juan Street, it looks like.
Right. I know.
So we should honor those young men that, unfortunately they lost their lives, and I'm not making excuses for them. It looks like there was a justifiable shooting, unfortunately. No charges. It doesn't look like were brought against the police.
No, there's no charges. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue the conversation. This is the Friday edition of Detroit in Black and White. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Vanessa, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White. If you're watching Friday night's edition, we want you to hit that like button, tell your friends about Detroit in Black and White. You can catch us on all social media platforms. You can also watch our previous episodes on DetroitInBlackandWhite.com.
I have Mary Sheffield on tomorrow, another mayoral candidate, as we move forward towards the August primary.
Just quickly, all these shootings are tragic. I kind of remember the Littleton shooting now. That was when he pulled a gun on the front lawn.
Yes.
And pointed and tried to shoot at a police officer. Clearly a justifiable shooting by the police, unfortunately. But it's still a tragic event whenever anybody loses their life, and we need to look at it like this. And Adolph, you talked about Detroit Will Breathe. I think you're referring to them when you talk about the BLM protests. And I have to give them a little credit, too, that day, that hot July day when they marched all the way to the 12th precinct. That could have been bedlam. There could have been a complete riot there. I was afraid they were going to try and take over the police building, the 12th precinct, which would have been tragic because there would have been a lot more. There would have been a lot of people hurt and maybe people killed. So
people getting smart now, Jim. People getting smart where, and they saying, well, let them come. We can have a dialogue with them. We can talk, etc. You don't have to beat up folks. And, unfortunately, here in the city and other places, you have police misconduct and stuff.
Absolutely. And I will say that I know during that time, there were a lot of us, and I'm talking about attorneys, that was involved because let's face it, police officers have a hard job. But their number one job is, you're supposed to know the United States Constitution. And you should know what the rights are. And you had quite a few of them breaching their duties. So a lot of them were in court.
Should you suspend? Should a cop get fired because he told somebody to go back to Mexico and that person wasn't even from Mexico? Should he been fired or suspended?
It should be disciplined for.
But should have been fired.
Well, I don't know. It's.
You're talking about the guy the other day.
It's certainly a discipline thing. I mean, it's disrespectful. I mean, there has to be mutual respect, and you can't ask for respect from the citizens when you're not respecting them.
Don't they have a union? We talked about unions the other day.
They do. It's probably.
The union protect them. So, I mean, listen. And then, you know what? Just because you shouldn't say it, and just because you did say it, and just because it hurt somebody's feelings, and just because it's wrong, does not mean that it's a fireable offense.
Right. I agree. I mean, particularly with the union, the union's going to fight it, and probably it would be at most a discipline of whatever, a suspension of whether it's a day or a month or a week or whatever. But it's probably not a fireable offense, but it's, I mean, professionalism, you don't want to be calling people, saying ethnic and racial things against people. The question,
but people do it anyway.
What if a white cop called a black person the N-word? Is that fireable?
Well, you know what? I was in the military, and boot camp was hell at times until they changed it a little bit, where you got called all kind of names, and all people of all colors was called all kind of names. They made fun of people, Polish background, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Asian, Black, white Appalachian. You know, they call them all kind of names. So
whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones.
Names hurt. Now names
I'm saying, listen, Miss Sheila says the last 15 years schools don't teach handwriting. So how can they read the Constitution our way? Well, I was actually talking about police officers. I do teach constitutional law at University of Detroit Mercy. And that's one of the things that we talk about. That's something that we spend a whole lot of time. If you are an officer, and Jim, you can attest to that. Am I correct?
Those police officers know the Constitution better than some judges out there. I'm going to tell you that right now. They know what their rights are. Exactly. And back to the point Allan made, if every time a resident or a citizen or a visitor abused a police officer verbally, we put them in jail, we would have no room for anybody. So it's okay for the police officers to be abused, but it's not okay for the citizens to be abused. I'd like to know why.
Well, Jim, though, I mean, the standards should be higher for the police officers than some people out on the street. I mean, it's a professional organization. People aren't adhering to the same rules that the police officers. There should
but you know, I would tell you, when I got into it with the police, and luckily they had people around us, and then they had about 6 police cars and stuff. I thought about it afterwards because I called the guy all kind of names. I talked about everybody and his mama, and I said, what was I thinking? Because if it was just one-on-one, me and him, it could have, the way the guy looked at me, the officer looked at me, he wanted to fuck me up. He wanted to hurt me. We went to court when they threw all the tickets out, and the judge said, well, I'm going to just let you know, Mr. Mongo, I'm done consulting work for me. If y'all have any objection of me here in the case, you should have seen his face. He wanted to die.
Right.
But the bottom line is, I shouldn't have said all the shit because I did disrespect the position, but I was pissed. People get pissed off.
I love it. Accountability. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who in our society is more abused verbally than a police officer? You tell me. Is it a painter? Is it a lawyer? Is it a judge? Is it a football player on the field? Is it a journalist? Nobody gets abused like our police officers.
But if he had a uniform that fit and it was pressed and he looked professional, I wouldn't have said anything. But he looked a mess. He was.
You know what? I'll say this. Look, being at the Washington Post when I was there were certain standards. I mean, they didn't want you saying certain things on social media. You had to get permission. I had to get permission when I flew back here for the Labor Day parade. There were a lot of rules and standards for professionalism. And I think police, there's no reason that they shouldn't adhere to the same, like every other, the FBI, every agency has, you're representing, you're representing the city that you're the officer in.
You've never been, I've been cursed out by the police. And after being cursed out, they didn't give me a ticket. So I said, well, I'd rather been cursed out and didn't get the ticket than he don't say anything or she, and they write $100 or whatever the ticket is, and a cop told me, he said, if I jump in somebody's face and say all kind of stuff, I'm not going to arrest them or give them a ticket. I'm just tell them to go, already punish them by, yelling at them and shit.
Well, we did at the Detroit News, we did 3 stories on Gill Hill of suspected corruption of different sorts. I would call him up on a Friday to tell him we're running a story, and I'd tell him what's in the story. And he yelled at me on the phone, you motherfucker, you lying, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I had a transcript where he was part of an FBI sting at the Hyatt Regency in Dearborn. They were trying to lure him into laundering money. And there was a full transcript on it. And at one point, the undercover FBI agent says to Gil Hill, you know a lot of people in town. You ever think about running for mayor? And he said, oh, no. He says, I got so many skeletons in the closet, the media would have a field day. But
well, the media didn't have a field day because he did run for he ran for mayor, and they played that Beverly Hills Cop movie every time he had an election. You could tell when it was going to come on. Gil Hill's running. But
here's a tip for you, Adolph. You made an important point. I just want to share it with our viewers. There's kind of an unwritten rule in policing. Either you get verbally abused sometimes by the officer for your actions, or you get a ticket. You usually don't get both. So if an officer is yelling at you for running a red light, you're probably not going to get a ticket. So that's the time that you just quietly take it, and maybe you walk away without a $200
right.
ticket.
Well, there's no question about it. Cop asked me one time, are you on the job? I said, it's a setup, because if I'm on the job, he think I'm a cop. You know what? If I say, yeah, I'm on my job, but
you don't do both. You don't yell at somebody and give them a ticket. You do one or the other.
Well, you know what? My interaction with the police has not been, I've had, I should say, great interaction, but I have not had anyone curse at me, talk to me all crazy, and vice versa. It's always been respectful. And I will add this. Most of my colleagues will pull out their bar card. I've never done that. Never.
Well,
we were on James Craig. I don't know how we went down this.
Yeah, we were just talking. I guess
we talk about the police, and we talk about where the former chief said that public safety is the number one priority if he get elected mayor. And I was surprised when he said schools. He said it bring the neighborhood.
He watched Detroit in black and white like everybody else. I'm not surprised. I watched.
Not everybody talking about schools.
Listen, I watched Frankie Darcell yesterday because she interviewed Santil Jenkins. Education came up. It is coming up with everybody that's running for their race. So yeah.
Well, we need some knockdown power. I want to see some kind of boxing match.
And what's it going to take for a mayor? Is it going to be a change in the city charter for the mayor to take over the schools?
Yeah, you have to, and that's chaos, because every time you call on a charter commission, you got all these people running to be on the charter commission, and they think they elected officials, walking around the honorable Joe Jackson and all this other shit, and they just on a fucking commission.
Listen, I want to give credit where credit is due. Queen B said, good job, Eric. Queen B, actually, it started with Adolph talking about education. When he started talking about the mayoral race, he said that should be the number one priority. It just so happened that we have somebody that sits on the panel and appears on the show quite frequently who is passionate about literacy.
Oh, there's no question. He's a zealot. Eric is a zealot when it comes to literacy. And I don't have a problem like that with that, because I know when I was kindergarten, 6, 7 years old, I got my library card. I was so proud that I had a library card and had little books and stuff. Go to the library, get your little books, and then one day, when I was in high school, my mother come into my room. She said, "Where did you get all these books at?" I was taking books.
Did you return them? Is the question.
Yeah, I did. Because she made me take them back.
Right. You know what? Let me say this, Adolph. I used to. I read a lot.
I wasn't bringing the books back
as much as I used to, but it would allow me to escape. I was able to expand my vocabulary, but go different places in my mind, because you get into a book and you explore a whole lot of different things. Now, in the age of education, not only are they not taught how to handwrite. Listen, Everything is on the computer. They don't even have to do research. They only have to go to the library to do research. Guess what? You Google everything.
No, you know what? I'm not writing the paper. I'm just saying, go talk to my AI. AI can take care of it. You know, they don't have to do the shit.
So for the folks that are watching basketball and listening to us, it's 61-61, Michigan State and Ole Miss. So keep listening to us, but keep watching basketball. We're good with that.
Ole Miss is big. They're a big
team. Ole Miss. I'm with the U of M. U of M. As the Ole Miss, miss. But anyway, okay. So we got Craig. We're looking forward to your friend Vanessa and Allan's friend Todd Perkins. What's his chances of sneaking into the top 3?
Listen, I was in court today, and it was like, Vanessa, you know he's going to have his, I call it the coming out party or whatever, his official announcement next month. I know his birthday is April the 1st. But
hi, Queen Bee. Thank you. I think Queen Bee needs to be more direct.
But
please be a little more direct, Queen Bee.
Todd, you know, as it is, 4 months, the people who are a little bit, I mean, Todd's got some money, but people got to start. I mean, he's launching, I think, sometime this coming week.
It's kind of late, man.
No, he's had a couple. They call them Todd Talks. He's had a couple of those because I've gotten the invitation. And I talked to him last week. He's been in trial, but he says he's coming now. Todd is very, very popular, especially on the North End. That's where he grew up. He's been practicing law.
We got 15% of the people vote.
Right. But and that's the thing.
We got 10 people want 5 votes.
10 people running. Yeah. 10 people running. Are you serious?
That's going to be a problem. And thank you, Whitney Clark, for tuning in. Our friend Whitney.
The 2 top vote getters. Listen, it's going to be a very slim margin of the difference in terms of how many votes that they get. It's going to be a very slim. You got 10 people split. It's split all the way up.
I would not be surprised if the runoff is between Mary Sheffield and Chief Craig.
Well, but y'all.
I'm sorry. I can listen.
I could be 100% wrong.
That's yours. That's your opinion.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's Allan says Mary Sheffield, and he wouldn't be surprised. Mary Sheffield and the chief, Vanessa. I'm gonna go to you.
Listen, Mary Sheffield is very popular, but people have gone to sleep on. There's a few other people that we have to look at. Santil Jenkins is one of them.
Man, Mary has run only in a district, until she run citywide. You know what? I'm giving everybody benefit of the doubt. Everybody's starting fresh. We got no incumbent,
right?
In the fucking race. We got a former.
Queen Bee is
a former president of the council and a present president of the council. We got a preacher. We got an attorney. We got a little bit of everybody.
Right.
Former police chief.
Former state rep.
Yeah. And who was the guy that came on our show a while ago with the kids?
Right. It's going to be very interesting. But I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It's very exciting to see so many qualified people interested in holding the position as mayor of the city of Detroit. It's very, very exciting to see that you have these people who are very well qualified. And guess what? These are people that are committed to the community. These are people who have roots in the community. These are people who are still in the community, not somebody who moved from Livonia and then decide to move in here, 6 weeks before.
Well, let me ask you this question.
I'm saying it's very exciting to see this.
Let me put this out there. We had a smart, young person who had charisma, who got the voters excited. We got one now. We got a young lady that people compare her to. Say she's young. She got charisma. She's the front runner. Now, do people want to go down that road again, or are they looking for somebody that got some kind of experience behind them?
Right.
She's very talented. They're all very talented. I like everybody that we've talked to, and I look forward to seeing Mary Sheffield tomorrow.
Okay.
But I will say this: I don't know if Allan's. I tell maybe I'm biased because I did the job for 28 years and I was a patrolman and I was a police chief, but and I understand James Craig can make some people think that he's a salesman. I'll just say that, all right? But I was impressed by some of his positions. I really was, and I'm going to tell you, he's got a record of leadership second to none in this race. Give me an example of anybody else in this race that has the leadership experience. You can talk about Teal Jenkins running Thought. She's great. She's a brilliant lady. But I'm going to tell you, he's been at it a long time.
So listen, we have Paul Orga says, Vanessa, I bet you my kidneys in Vegas that if Todd Perkins becomes mayor of Detroit, at some point he will attempt to annex Highland Park, Michigan.
Well, you know what? I got no problem with that.
Yeah, but why would you?
No problem with it.
Highland Park has all the problems of Detroit.
But it got land. You keep saying, Allan, Highland Park is a fucked up city because of some fucked up situations with Ford, Chrysler, and everybody else that have moved out. But
Highland Park was the leader.
They got fucking land and people buying up land that you can't buy.
Detroit's got land. Don't ignore the fact. Look at all the
Chinese is buying it all up.
Listen, that's interesting that you guys are talking about Highland Park. Did you guys see the press conference that the mayor of Highland Park did the other day? And she talked about all the land there in Highland Park and developing the land. That's part of her. That's part of her message. So I think it's very interesting that we're talking about Highland Park. But listen, she's talking about, look, we got to bring this money in so that we can develop these properties and bring more people in. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing because, as Adolph pointed out to us the other day, he was like, Highland Park has a lot of land. But
if I was the mayor of Detroit, I would instead of trying to throw people out of the fucking country, I would be trying to import all these folks. Put them right down on the east side, west side. People from Haiti. Come on, come on, build up your communities and shit. It's like in Miami, they gave the Haitians the most fucked up area in Miami. Guess what? They got the only stable property there because the rest of the folks' condos are falling into the ocean, and in little Hades. They need the land back. It's just like Oklahoma. Look at all the Native Americans in Oklahoma. It's nothing till they find oil, and now we want the shit back. So
look at Bangalore. We got Bangalore over sort of straddling Detroit and Hamtramck. That's a very stable neighborhood.
They gave it to them. They let them come there, and then they get pissed off when they took over. I'll give them credit. They got them ambassadorships out of that shit. They kissed Donald Trump's ass, and now they're ambassador to Kuwait and to that other shithole country.
Well, the Bangladeshi though are different. There's in Yemen, in Hamtramck, the dominant groups are the Yemenis and the Bangladeshis. The Bangladeshis they've got their own stores. They've got, I think it's Conant Avenue in Hamtramck is called Bangladesh Avenue. They've got all these Bangladeshi restaurants. My niece lived there. There were a lot of artists living there as well.
So why do people get upset when Joanne Watson said, why we have African Town and people went berserk?
Well, you know why. But first of all, there's such thing as self-hate in our community, right? Anytime you talk about something Black, a lot of people just think negatively about it. But listen, Sheila says, make sure Fred Dorhall don't develop nothing else like he did in Highland Park.
What you talking about, those dog houses? Oh, I know what you're talking about, but that's not Fred. That was his father. He was with Granholm. Granholm came in there. They had some dog houses. My dog didn't want the house, and now you drive through Highland Park and they all abandoned.
Yeah,
it was a waste of fucking money.
Right.
I've never seen Allan this dressed in forever. You guys must be saying something funny, or it's an interesting game.
Early Story says, bring Somalis and Malis since Yemenis are here. Make Detroit cultural again. Someone says, I think it was Queen B said Adolph, you should. Why don't you run? The city will make you mayor in a minute.
Yeah, right. But you know, people talking about folks from Somalians, they about 20% in Maine, and Omar and them in Minnesota. You know what? I'm telling you, we need some immigrants here in Detroit.
But you know what?
We need to bring them in.
When we were at 9:10 a.m., we had some callers when we were talking about during the Ukraine war, let's bring some of the Ukrainians here, some of the Haitians, and people were like, call up, some of the older people call up and say, well, I can live next door to you, but they're not living next door to me. So even with the Taylor Swift concert, we had people calling up and saying, we don't need the suburbanites coming in our city. There's a resistance to opening up, and we have so much land.
Wait, it's the same. But it's the same way what they did in Livonia. Said we don't want a fucking Myers store. We don't, because we don't want the folks from Detroit to come in this motherfucker because they steal or they do this. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, so, you know what? As to Alan's point, the point that I was going to make earlier is when you talked about Highland Park having a lot of land, Detroit has a lot of vacant lots, a lot of land.
And you know what? You know what's wrong though? It's like this. Jerome Morgan built those houses right there in Gray Haven.
I know what you're talking about.
And right off in Jefferson.
Yeah.
All he wanted was to build a subdivision. He wanted the development rights across Jefferson because he built some houses on that side. Dennis Archer and them gave it to somebody from out of town. Right. They never built not one fucking house.
Right.
Every time they wanted to, we got people here that can do things. And George Jackson is right on the money when he said there's people that can do a whole lot but get blocked out. Magic Johnson wanted to have these theaters here. They blocked him out, said you got to spend your own money, but the Illagers can get $100 million, $200 million. We can build their stadiums and don't make them pay shit.
But listen, Adolph, we used to have the person that was over the Detroit Land Bank, and they talked about how the inventory of houses was very low. However, there's so much land. There's so much land that's in the city of Detroit. That land needs to be bought and developed.
But they won't sell it to some of these people.
No, you know why?
Live next door to it. Say, I've been taking care of this lot for 25 years. Can I buy it? City say, no, you can't buy it. We got somebody else that's looking at it.
Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to get her back on the show so she can talk about those things and we can ask her the hard questions about those lots. Because listen, the other day, that was a couple of days ago, I was driving around. I was like, oh my God, so much land. It is.
We need to do what they did back in the day. And listen, if you can go out and stake your claim on some property, go do it. You got a week to go check it out. We got to start giving. That's when I disagreed with Coleman Young when Acorn came into the city and said, give us some of these houses for the homeless. Let them move into it. And Mayor said, no. So he let Brush Park Bush Park had all these beautiful homes, and they just let them man, you can't even build them
beautiful
anymore.
Victorian homes.
Let them,
So Howard said that Adolph reminds him of Coleman A. Young, but I don't know if you know this, Howard, but if you've seen Hamilton, Adolph was in the room where it happened. I think that's how the song goes. I'll let him explain the rest.
Well, anyway, if you want to join us tomorrow, we got Mary Sheffield coming on tomorrow. George Jackson going to join us towards the end of the show and talk about the state of the city speech. He started some shit. And after this show, we're running the Chief Craig interview, and hopefully we can get all the major players that's running for mayor to come on Detroit in Black and White, and some of the city council people. That's been kind of quiet too.
Yeah.
Haven't seen too many people making their play.
Listen, we got one city council member. It may be more than one, but what's his name? Scott Benson. Looks like he's running unopposed again.
Oh well, people. Well, listen, that's why you got districts,
right? Janet Seller, thank you so much for watching Detroit in Black and White. Thank you so much for commenting. She said. She says, thank you all for sharing your expertise and engaging in such a lively discussion. I appreciate your insights. Thank you, Adolph, Allan. Good night. See you tomorrow morning, Jim and Vanessa.
Okay.
Well, I guess you're coming to the gym with me in the morning, Vanessa, maybe after the show, because Vanessa's my friend. She's a volunteer over at Victory Gym, and she's a great lady. Thank you, Jim.
I'm going to go to Allan because Allan want to get off and watch the little.
It's over. Michigan State's got it.
Yeah, they winning the game.
69-65. I'll tell you, they Mississippi put up a tough fight.
That's why I keep turning my head. I keep turning my head. I'm looking at Vanessa, really.
I want to, the press is, particularly since Donald Trump has been in office both times, the press has come under so much attack. And I just want to play this quick little 30 seconds of, the Jeffrey Goldberg, the whole Signalgate thing. And here's how they initially responded.
If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg. Goldberg is an anti-Trump hater. He is a registered Democrat. Goldberg's wife is also a registered Democrat and a big Democrat donor who used to work under who? Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, she's full of shit. She's a DEI person.
This is the thing. They're such hypocrites. Okay, so what? He very well may be a Donald Trump hater, as is a whole lot of people. But guess what? You guys hate the other people, so who cares? So what?
No, I'm just saying. My point is that the point is with the media. I mean, here it is. The Jeffrey Goldberg had everything, all the ammunition, and they still tried to lie about it. And then he finally said, "Okay."
Or did they?
Y'all wouldn't make it an hour in policing. That's all I have to say.
Did they lie? They trashed him. They tried to say he makes up shit. It's scary.
But it's just like when Trump dogged out the most timid motherfucker in the world, Lester Holt, and said he's a Democrat. Lester Holt is a card-carrying Republican.
No, he's an independent now. He was for a long time.
Well,
you all wouldn't make it for an hour.
What does that all mean?
Nothing.
What does that mean?
Exactly. It means absolutely nothing.
So people will be telling you what they're going to do to your mom on the way home when they pass you by when you're directing traffic.
We don't care about that. You could be a Republican. I don't care. But if you're a MAGA person, I got a problem. And you know what? I also have a problem with the liberals. So there you go.
So it sounds like my grandfather. Your final thought, Allan.
I'm looking forward. I'd like to see the mayoral candidates take it up a notch, and let's see what you got. Show us what you got. I mean, we're all, those of us who live in the city still want to see what's out there and who to vote for. So
okay, Jim, your final
My
thought.
final thought is it's 9:25. Michigan State looks like they're wrapping this thing up here, and that means you have.
It ain't over yet.
Well, it's never over, but that means you have about 30 minutes to watch the face-to-face with Adolph Mongo. It's a great discussion between former Chief Craig, whether you love him or hate him. You may learn something if you watch it, and you have time before Michigan takes the hardwood.
And Pistons were winning tonight against Cleveland, the best.
Who cares about that, Vanessa?
Listen, I want to thank each and every last one of those people, of you guys that have joined the chat in Detroit Black and White. We want you to join the chat tomorrow. Sheila says, why candidates don't debate? Maybe we need to talk about that more often so we can get them to debate. And maybe Allan can put it in his Deadline Detroit and ask the question, hey, why you guys are not debating? We want to see it. We want to see the fireworks. We're going to have to press the issue. So join us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, Detroit Black and White, the greatest. Adolph Mongo's Detroit in Black and White. The greatest podcast.
Don't say my name.
The greatest podcast.
Say my name.
Dynamic crew. Join us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
You talk too much. And as I quote that great philosopher, Miss Seeley, anything you do to that turkey, I'm going to do to you. See you tomorrow.
Bye.